This increase is small. It's rather similar to, if you imagine a school of more than 1,000 children, all of whom are deeply troubled by depression, less than a small class size would have these suicidal thoughts or attempts. So it's a small
could be safe
but
for
important.
children.
Absolutely, it could be. We haven't got a license in children yet. I feel sorry for anybody who has had any side effects from treatment or indeed has experienced the terrible symptoms of depression. We are trying to help people. The evidence, however, is clear. These medicines are not linked with suicide.
Our best evidence
These medicines
that
are
some
not
7,000 children a year children and adolescents were receiving
Peter
Seroxat.
Breggin. 15 years ago, I warned the FDA and I warned the country in toxic psychiatry that antidepressants were causing a stimulant amphetamine-like syndrome that was resulting in violence and murder. In 1994, in talking back to Prozac, I warned the country and the FDA again, this time with tons now of scientific data on the same issues. During that period of time, I was asked to be, and this is very relevant to your deliberations, the scientific investigator for all of the combined Prozac suits, almost 200 of them. So I got to look at all the sealed data that Eli Lilly didn't want anybody else to see. So about 20 books later now, and a few dozen scientific studies, and innumerable product liability suits where I've looked at sealed data, I've come to tell you that you're evaluating junk. You're evaluating carefully edited, expurgated data that I've seen and you haven't. This is a most remarkable circumstance, that you have resources, people who have been inside the drug companies, who can tell you what's happening inside the drug companies, and of course, you've avoided it. All the documents I'm going to discuss now are on my website, www.breggin.com, and they've all been given to you, sent to you via the committee. In 1985, the Germans asked Eli Lilly to review all of its controlled clinical trials, phase 2, phase 3 for suicidality. The company came up with 12 suicide attempts on Prozac, 1 on alternative antidepressant, and 1 on placebo, a raging signal which the company did not report to the Germans, did not report to the FDA, and did not report at the 1991 hearings. In addition, the company hid suicidal data. When it would get an incoming suicide from the field, it would reclassify it as depression. It would reclassify it as no drug effect. Claude Boucher, who was in Germany working for Eli Lilly, wrote an ashamed memo to the central office saying, how would I explain this to, quote, my family, to, quote, a judge? But he said we would, of course, go along with what the company said. And as for akathisia, the company was very clever. It didn't code akathisia, so none were reported. It wasn't an available term. I found innumerable cases of akathisia combing through the company files that were never reported. GSK, Glaxo SmithKline on Paxil, combing through their files, I have found suicides that haven't found their way, suicide attempts.
Thank you.
Millions of Americans take mood-altering drugs that their doctors have prescribed for them, but few know some of the dangerous side effects that could cause harm. That's because a company that makes them may not have been reporting all of their data to the FDA. Fox's Douglas Kennedy was the first national reporter to link antidepressant medications to adolescent suicide and violence. This prompted hearings that eventually resulted in the black box warnings from the FDA. He reports on a brand new update for us. Here's Douglas.
Did this major drug company, Glaxo SmithKline, hide the deadly effects of one of the country's most popular antidepressants? That's the blockbuster allegation government officials are now investigating.
The proof is now out. The company, GSK, camouflaged it, hid the data.
Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, both the Justice Department and this government committee, headed by Iowa Senator Charles Grassley, are looking into what could possibly turn out to be a criminal investigation. Essentially, it looks like Glaxo SmithKline bamboozled the FDA, Grassley said in a statement.
Very simply put, what they did is they took the data that would have shown that the drug can cause suicidal behavior, and they camouflaged it by moving the numbers around.
The document suggests a patient taking Paxil is 8 times more likely to attempt or commit suicide than patients taking placebo. At that time, GSK vehemently denied Paxil caused suicide in a statement to Fox News. There is no link between use of Paxil and an increased risk in suicide or suicide attempts.
That I'm outraged, because that kind of a statement absolutely puts lives at risk, and that should not be tolerated.